Welcome to Penny for Your Shots, conversations and cocktails with brilliant women. I'm your host, Penny Fitzgerald, and I believe the best stories are the ones shared over a glass of wine or a cocktail. Each week, I sit down with women who've said yes to building something meaningful, often after years of putting everyone else first. We talk business, big dreams, and the mess in between. And of course, a few favorite drinks. So grab a glass, get comfy, and let's pour ourselves into Penny for Your Shots. Hello, friends. I met Vicki McGrath virtually through a women's golf and networking group I joined called LEGS. That's short for Ladies Executive Golf Society. She gave a presentation to our group, and almost immediately I thought, we're going to have a lot to talk about. And we did. Vicki is the founder of Here to Help Home Care Services in Ontario, Canada, and her work grew out of a very personal experience, watching her mom decline from Alzheimer's and seeing how hard that road was for her dad as the primary caregiver. That experience opened her eyes to a very real need, and instead of just saying, somebody should do something about this, she became the somebody. You know I love a story like that. In this conversation, we talk about caring for aging parents, the importance of having a plan before you need one, what families often don't know until they're in the middle of a crisis, and how Vicki started a brand new career in her 40s and built a business that has helped hundreds, maybe thousands of seniors and their families. And yes, we also talk about champagne, travel, golf, and women doing business differently, because of course we do. So pour yourself something bubbly if that feels right and enjoy the conversation. Here is Vicki McGrath. Hi,
Hello.
Vicki. I'm so excited to talk to you. I loved your presentation for the Legs group.
Oh,
It was
thank you.
fabulous.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good, good, good. Well, tell us your name and a little bit about you. Like, what do you do?
Sure. So I'm Vicki McGrath. I am the owner of Here to Help Home Care Services, which is a senior care business here in Ontario. And I have been in business since 2016, so celebrating 10 years this year, and having helped hundreds and possibly thousands of seniors and their families over the course of that time. And now, in addition to running the senior care business, I have started helping other people start a senior care business using the same systems and processes that I have been using for the last 10 years so that I can expand my reach and help more people. And also, at this time, I think it's really a great time for people to start their own business. The economy is dodgy. People are afraid for their jobs. There's a lot of worry about, things over time. And plus, all the baby boomers are approaching like retirement age and senior citizenship themselves. So I think it's really a great time. And some people maybe just aren't ready to retire and are looking for something to do that's meaningful and important for their, the second act in life. So that's sort of why I got into teaching other people to start a senior care business, and I'm excited for that as well.
Well, congratulations on 10 years. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah, it is quite a milestone.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy starting a business and being a solopreneur and gosh, those first few years are little uncertain, right?
Yeah, well, we started out as a franchise. So that, at the time when I started the senior care business, I came from a government background. I had no business or healthcare experience other than my mom's decline and death from Alzheimer's disease, and experiencing that, really made me question whether or not the healthcare system could be better. And seeing my dad struggle with being her primary caregiver,
Mm.
that was the impetus for me getting into the senior care business. I didn't have any experience. I had never run a business. And so at the time, sort of, I thought that franchise ownership was really the only option. And so we started out as a franchise for the first 5 years in the business. And then for the second 5 years have been independent. And so we've been able to live both lives of
Mm,
being within a franchise system where it's actually quite challenging, I think, probably. And in retrospect, if I had the program that I now offer, I would have had an option instead of having to go down the franchise route. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I was able to get started when I did, and that I was able to succeed as well as we did, given the tools and systems that we were able to learn from the franchise system.
right, right. I'm sure it was helpful for some of it, and then you saw some things you'd like to change too.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
being a franchisee, you get the benefit of the brand, and that was the part that
Mm-hmm.
I liked the best was the brand. And you get the systems, which are key. And then, what the franchisor promises after that is kind of hit and miss. They can rapidly change from one direction to another direction, and you as the franchisee are kind of subject to the change of the winds depending on what their what their shifts are, and priorities are. And so that was what I found, was that there, as the franchisee, you didn't have a lot of control, and you were limited in your territory and limited to, a lot of the things that you had to pay the franchise or for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had to pay into marketing. You didn't really have any control over your own marketing, and it was brand wide marketing. So you were paying into a large brand fee, marketing program, and you weren't really sure how much of it was, you know, targeting your area. There's a lot of things that you, as the franchisee, you don't have much control over your own local business. And I think that those were the sort of the things that I found challenging fairly soon after joining. But nonetheless, as I say, if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have started my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very grateful that that's the way that I started.
That's great. Let's back up a little bit too, because I want to hear more about your story. My mom had Alzheimer's as well. So yeah, I'm familiar with that road, and I tell people it's like we lost her twice. Once very slowly over 10 to 15 years, and then her death. And Dad, he was right there all the time, and it's hard. It's just so hard for the caretakers and those around her, to see the decline, to remember what she was like, remember how vibrant she was and what she used to be capable of, and then see that go away just slowly. What was your experience?
Yeah, well, I had a difficult relationship with my mom. If I'm being honest, I didn't really like her as an adult. If I mean, she was a very distinct personality, and I was not really interested in being in her life much.
Mm,
I'm one of five kids, and I would say probably we were all about the same, about about our relationship with our mom, but nonetheless, we did not really put two and two together with the dementia, Alzheimer's, until it was quite advanced. And I say that probably similar to you, my dad hid a lot of it
mm,
because he
mm-hmm.
was just trying to, we were living our lives, we had our own jobs, we had our own families, we were doing our own things, and he didn't want to be a burden with my mom. And so he just hid most of the stuff that was going on with her. And there was kind of, even as early as, let's see, she passed away in 2012, and my daughter was born in 2004. So, like, even in 2004, before that, there was evidence. Like, my mom was a baker. She was like a homesteader, really, growing up,
Oh,
right? So
wow.
she
Uh-huh.
she was a real baker, And one day she baked something for my dad's birthday, and all the family was there. And she had, and you hear about these stories and you just think to yourself, that's crazy. But she had used salt instead of sugar in the cake,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So you can imagine how
Whoops.
gross that was, right? Like just
Yeah.
so gross. And all of us were
Uh-huh.
just like, this, what the
What's
heck,
happening here?
right? Like, what is the matter with you, lady? Right?
Yeah.
And then when my daughter was born, my mom was also very much a knitter her whole life. She would knit stuff like crazy. And then when my daughter was born, she knit her something and it was just so bad. Like the pattern was bad. It just did not look like
Oh,
something that she would have done,
yeah. Yep.
right? And at
Mm-hmm.
that time, like it never occurred to me that it was because she was no
She
longer really
couldn't.
capable of following a
Yeah.
pattern, right? She was
Yep.
just, it was by uh default that she knew she knitted, but she no
Uh-huh.
longer knew how to follow that pattern. And so the
Yeah.
blanket was just like, what the heck? It was so terrible. But nonetheless, I never put two and two
Yep.
together
Yep.
until it was quite later and things had advanced quite dramatically. And then it was like, just, you could no longer deny the evidence that she
Yeah.
was, she was no longer herself at all. She was just like a shell. And my dad was trying really hard. But by that time, none of us, as I say, I'm one of five, none of us knew how to help, right? That was the
Right.
other challenge, right?
Yep.
Like, we had no idea. We had zero consciousness of private home care. And that's why for me to get into this business, it was such a revelation to me to learn about private home care that's what, it was like God bonking me on the head with a club, right? Like, this is what you can do to help other people going through what you have experienced, right? This,
Mm-hmm.
this, this little pink car on our street was my first awareness of private home care. And if I had known about it, I know that as one of five kids, we could have cobbled together support for my dad and my mom so that they
Mm-hmm.
could have had a better care experience, not a better outcome. The outcome was always going to be the same, right? But
Yeah.
as you know, and as I discovered, Alzheimer's and dementia are just a dreadful way to go.
It's
Like, just a
horrible.
dreadful way to go, right? Like
Yep.
my dad was towards the end, he was calling 911 for lift assists practically every day because my mom
Mm.
was falling, and she was a very tall woman. She was always like 5'11", and he was 6 feet, but still trying to get a 5'11", full body off the floor when you're
Mm-hmm.
inexperienced, you don't know what you're doing.
You're
Probably my
older.
mom was like, she was probably resistant. She never broke anything, thankfully. But,
Oh, that's
he
good.
was calling every day for lift assists. And then eventually one day she actually like completely forgot how to walk. And that was even worse for my dad. Like, he freaked out. He called 911. He sent her to the hospital. They did all kinds of unnecessary tests. They
Oh my
thought maybe
gosh.
she had encephalitis and put a
Oh,
stent in her brain, like just terrible stuff that could have so been avoided if we had been aware of how this whole, decline
wow.
of dementia works, right?
Yeah.
And
Was
then,
she not
right,
diagnosed ever either? Was her own
not
physician
diagnosed.
not?
No, not diagnosed.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Was she
crazy.
not going to care regularly
Probably
or?
not. Yeah, probably
Okay.
not. Probably, well, it was
Huh.
probably my dad's way of
Mm.
protecting her and
Yeah.
us and himself.
Yeah.
He didn't
Oh,
want to
for
know.
sure. Yeah, yeah, well, right. Sometimes you don't want to know, but I mean, it doesn't help
Yeah.
in some cases like this.
Yeah, well, eventually he found
Oh,
out and, found out it was stage 4, which is the end of the road, right? By
how
the
old
time
was
she was diagnosed.
she?
She was very young.
Yeah.
She was 74 when she died.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't necessarily, that wouldn't be the first thought you have, maybe at that age, that that's what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's
I would
true.
think
And
that the people who would, like the emergency workers or, at some point, some of the healthcare workers would have gone, that looks like dementia to me.
they probably did.
Gosh.
Now I can say, even though I have no healthcare experience, I'm not a nurse. I'm just,
Mm,
I'm just the one who runs the business. now I can see when clients are talking about the loved one that needs help, that they are also in complete denial about
Mm,
the fact that they have dementia, right? They will tell me what's
yeah.
happening with their loved one, and I will
Mm-hmm.
say to them, gee, from my experience, that sounds like dementia. And they'll be like, no, right? Like they
It's
can't,
just that's
they
so
can't
hard.
grasp it, right? They just can't
So hard
grasp
to
it.
hear.
And
Yeah.
the evidence is so strong that that's exactly what those behaviors are, right?
Yeah.
And but then, back then with my mom, I didn't know that. I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't
Right.
have any experience. My dad didn't have any experience. He would have been the one going, no, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting experience having a
For
loved one
sure.
with Alzheimer's dementia. And everyone, even though the ultimate outcome is the same, right? You forget
Mm-hmm.
everything and you
Yep.
basically you revert to basically nothingness, right? In your whole
Mm-hmm.
system. Um, the way it happens is quite different for everybody too, right? Like
Uh-huh.
it's a disease that affects people in such unusual ways, right? So
Mm-hmm.
some people have a lot of crazy delirium and just it's so obvious that they're in an altered state. And some people, like my mom, just kind of lose parts of themselves over time. And then, just suddenly you're looking at a shell, right?
Yeah. I found that it ebbs and flows too, at least for my mom it did. Where some days she'd be not fine, but lucid. She would, I think she knew that she wasn't quite herself. She knew
Yeah.
she was going through something. And I would think that would be scarier or more uncomfortable than just being in the state where you don't know, where you don't know that you're
Yeah.
really in
Yeah. I think
Alzheimer's.
a lot of the time, a lot of that can be managed better, right? That could be
Right.
managed with pain
Yep.
pain management, medication, things that
Mhm.
help to smooth out that, the agitation and the awareness, right? That things aren't right. And that's, I think,
Mhm.
people's I consider people's personality like a scaffold, right? There's like automated responses that we all learn from being children with our own families, right? We have these
Mhm.
automatic belief systems that just kind of like, you answer in a certain way and you respond to questions in a
Yeah.
certain way and you do things in a certain way. And that really is a good bluff for a really long time, right? And I think that's why sometimes it's so hard that to notice that your loved one has dementia is because they're still responding
Mhm.
in the same way they always have, but there's like nothing back there anymore, right? To
Yeah.
to back
Yep.
it up.
Yeah, mom was really good at covering up too. Like you were saying, your dad, mom, we would ask her a question or someone would ask her a question and like, what'd you have for dinner last night? I don't know, Carl, what did we have?
Yeah,
And she would
exactly.
defer to him
Deflect.
and
Yeah,
cover. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. That's so common, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
probably just something that she learned over time that it was an easy way out, right?
Yep. It was still
Yeah,
conversational. She could still be in the same, conversation
yeah.
and presence with people, but not really. Yeah, it's fascinating. And sad,
Yes,
acceptable.
I guess I sort of bucked the odds there. Like when I started my business at 45, I guess I probably just didn't even think about any of that, and I was I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm starting a business now, and away we go, right? So I at the
Yeah.
time,
You just put one
I
foot in front of
I
the other.
yeah, that's right. That's all you could do, right?
Yeah.
You can only do what's in front of you, and that's not too many people are probably thinking about starting over at 45, but when life hands you the lemons, then you can
Yeah.
choose to make lemonade, and that's what I was lucky
Exactly.
enough to be able to do, right?
It was 59 for me, so I'm right there with you. Yeah, we're certainly not done contributing and making a positive impact for people. That's what we want to do, and there's no time limit on that. So,
Yes, I
and it's
agree
never
with
too
that.
late. Never too
That's
late
right.
to
I
start.
agree with that. And that's why I think now, as I say, if, even if you're in your second act or you've retired from your original business or position and you think to yourself, I still have so much to give, right? Starting a senior care business is a great idea because, there's a proven formula, a proven model. The senior care population only continues to grow. The baby boomers are going to want to stay home. They are not going to want to go into these fancy retirement homes that have been built for the current generation. Honestly, they're going to want to stay home as long as they can. They are, more healthy and more active and have, more interests than I think our parents did. And so I think, now is a great time to get into that business if that's of interest to somebody, and not to feel like they don't know what they're doing or they haven't got any experience, because I didn't either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's more comfortable to stay at home. You know your surroundings, you know your way of doing things, you have your own habits, you have your own things that you like to do and where you like to be. So it makes sense why you would want to stay home.
Yeah,
How do
thank you.
you do that? How do you support seniors in staying at home?
Well, we have a distributed workforce, so we hire staff, PSWs or personal support workers, and nurses, and they go into the clients' homes and look after them in their home. And so that could be their own private residence or it could be retirement home. Sometimes it's even in the hospital, depending on what's happening with the client.
Mm,
For
mhm,
example, sometimes clients go to the hospital because they've had a urinary tract infection or they've had a
mm.
fall because of a urinary tract infection, and they go into hospital and they've got dementia and they don't know they're supposed to stay in bed. They don't know that they could fall again. They don't even know how to use the call button. So
Oh
sometimes we're
gosh.
called in just to be there with them to help them as they're, navigating being in the hospital. And a lot of times the opposite as well, from going home from the hospital or from transitioning from home to retirement homes. People with dementia have a very difficult time with transitions. They're familiar environment, their familiar surroundings, everything that they've known is in their home. So that when we
Mhm.
change that, when we make, a change for them, which is what I hear a lot, is that it's challenging for people to then reorganize themselves to the new environment. So that's where we provide a lot of support, is for people who are in their own home and are no longer really able to manage. Their families have noticed that they're not eating very well, or that there's a lot of expired food in the fridge, or
Mm.
in one circumstance, we had a client who had a dog, and the son noticed that the dog was looking really thin, and so
Oh
we
gosh.
he realized that probably not only his dad wasn't eating, but probably his dad wasn't feeding the dog. And
Oh
so,
my
we
gosh.
look after the pets too while we're there.
Mhm.
And so, really, we'll do anything we can to help a senior stay in their home.
Wow. Yeah, it becomes a danger at times too, I would think, if like I remember my mom leaving the stove on one time and that was okay, that's it. You're gonna have to do something. You're have to going to have to
Yeah.
go to the care facility and the
Yeah, and I think that happens a
yeah.
lot. I think people notice that a lot, that there's a burnt pot or the kettle's been going or whatever the case may be. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's that their mom loves to go out for a walk, and went out for a walk and got lost and got picked up by
Mm.
the police somewhere and had to get brought home with the police because she had no idea where she was anymore. And that
Wow.
has happened as well, right? We had a client who we cared for because she was a person who liked to go out and have lunch somewhere. So she would walk. Her son moved her to a retirement home, but she still thought she wanted to go and get lunch, even though lunch is included. And she would walk across a busy road at
Oh
90
gosh.
years old to get to the Swiss Chalet or wherever she was going. And one time she got hit by a car and broke her hip. And
Oh my
then her
gosh.
son had to have somebody come in and help her recover for her broken hip. But then
Mm-hmm.
after that, to assist her when she wanted to go out for lunch so that she wasn't walking,
By
by
yourself.
herself
Mm-hmm.
crossing the road,
Oh my gosh.
without anybody paying attention to an elderly person taking their sweet old time, right? They take a long time to cross the road.
Yeah, you can only move so fast when your hips hurt.
That's it.
Oh
So,
my
you know,
gosh.
we've helped with lots of different clients for lots of different reasons. We've had you know, sons or daughters call us because their mom or dad had walked out of the retirement home in their brief in the middle of the night and nobody noticed, and you know, like
Oh
they
gosh.
were sitting outside in the retirement home gazebo the next morning when staff arrived in their brief, and it's just like crazy stuff
Just
happens,
hanging
right?
out. Oh my gosh. Thought I'd wait for my coffee out here.
Yeah. Anybody let me in, right? The doors are
Oh,
locked at a certain
oh,
point,
sure.
right? So you might
Wow.
be able to leave, but you can't get back
Yeah.
in.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the care that you provide, do you have different levels of it too then? You can, you know, I imagine that some of your clients don't need a lot of care, maybe just being checked on or maybe their meds filled or whatever. But then would assume that other clients need a lot more. So do you provide different types of care for different
Yeah,
people?
for sure. Yeah, we do. We provide a lot of the same, you know, different levels of care within a single visit, right? Some clients need help with meals or bathing, you know, medication management, but they might also need help with companionship or
Mm-hmm.
social outings or going to the library, you know. So we do lots of different things. And then we have clients who are, you know, perhaps in the latter stages of cancer or end of life, and they need a lot more support to help them with, you know, managing their pain and making sure that they're comfortable at the end of life. And we also just provide wound care for some clients who have, you know,
Mm.
had surgery or have had some kind of a problem where they've developed a wound for something. And so we do
Mm-hmm.
provide different levels of care, and they're all provided for by, you know, different levels of experienced staff.
Mm, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, yeah, I would think, someone that just needs home stuff, just pick up my mail, help me organize things, help me get rid of things in my refrigerator. Those kinds of just basic things I would think would be at one level, and then medical or even physical therapy might be something else that might be needed as you age.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of that is PSW level care, a personal support worker, actually. And
Uh-huh.
you know, a lot of the times, like every one of our client is managed by their doctor, right? We don't provide
Okay.
medical oversight. They have
Uh-huh.
medical oversight themselves. And so if they need physiotherapy, then they, you know, they get a program developed by a physiotherapist, and then our staff can help them with that. We can definitely help them with their physio once we have the routine set up. But we don't actually provide the routine ourselves. We just do the support, and that's the same with all of the care. We're not obviously prescribing the medication or in any
Okay.
way, but we can make recommendations, you know, about the medication that the client is on, if we
Mm-hmm.
notice that the client is perhaps declining in some strange way that isn't sort of normal for them, you know, to perhaps check out whether they've got a urinary tract infection or something else is going on, a
Mm.
medication conflict, or, you know, if they've started a new medication, how that's going. So, a lot of the times, what we do is really just real personal support care. And then every once in a while, there's something specialized like nursing care required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of observational help, I would think.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're probably there more often, your people are there more often, possibly, potentially, than the family members. And maybe a person living at home doesn't have any family members or no one nearby.
Yeah, that's often the case where we get calls from, you know, people or daughters or sons around the country or in the States, and their loved one lives far away from them, but they've, you know, had a call from the hospital or whatever the case may be, and they have to set something up. And a lot of the time, you know, we have had clients that just don't have any family at all. So then we hear from the niece or the nephew, and
Mm,
they're like, I don't know this. I don't really know this person. I don't really know what they need. Can you help me?
uh-huh. But I know something's
So,
wrong. Yeah.
right. So a lot of the times we're the only ones that really know what's happening in the home with them.
Wow. 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 It's so important, I feel like, as you age, anytime, to keep your friends close, to really develop your friendships and stay in touch with your friends because we it takes a village, right, to be able to do anything we want to do. We want to we if we want to start a business or as we age, we check in on each other. It's just really good to have girlfriends.
Yeah, it's good to have a plan. It is good to have a
Oh,
plan,
a
right?
plan.
To think about the plan before you need it, so that you
Yeah.
have something, something in effect, so that if something is to, I mean, the truth of the matter is that, it doesn't have to be an illness or a diagnosis. Any of us can have a medical issue at any time, like
Yeah.
break something or get
Mm,
into a car accident or anything, right? And
mm-hmm.
so it's not just always about aging that we need to be thinking about, oh, well, I'll worry about that when I'm older. It could happen at any time, right? So to
Yeah.
have a plan about who to contact and what you want, the kind of support you want during those times when you need it, I think is important, right? Because otherwise
Mm-hmm.
people are just guessing and doing the best that they can.
Right. How would you suggest people do that? How would they create a plan?
Well, I think they would just write it out somewhere and give it to their, in case of emergency, right? Like whoever that
Mm,
might be. Just have
yeah.
have their family doctor and the phone number for their family doctor. Like I couldn't tell you probably, who my mom's family doctor was at the time. I would have had to have asked my dad, right? But my
Mm-hmm.
dad knew, of course, but in a circumstance where you don't know or you don't have an immediate loved one, then find someone who can be your in case of emergency, right? So that they
Right.
have your informations and make sure that it's as current as it can. And the kinds of things that you would want if you were to need care.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want them to have private care for yourself? How
Wow.
how you would set that up, right?
Yeah. I would think that would be very valuable for someone to have a list. Like these are the things that I should write down somewhere, or this is the information that someone would need if something were to
Yeah,
happen to me. Here's
yeah,
where to look for my
and
insurance. Here's where to look for my
exactly.
bank account.
Right, exactly. All of those things are key. And also just the things like the basics of how to reach people or like,
Right? Phone
if you
numbers.
need to call family, right? Like just
Right.
the basics.
Yeah.
I
Holy
think it's
cow.
it everybody everybody just focuses on death and dying, but there's a lot that you could do now. Have a power of attorney now, someone who you can delegate authority to if you're incapacitated, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're unable to make decisions for yourself and there's nobody around to make them for you or in your stead, then the medical or healthcare system is making those decisions based on a very specific set of circumstances. Like, for
Mm.
example, one of our clients um, had end stage liver cancer, and she was always nauseated and always felt just miserable, like
Mm.
just how miserable you feel when you're nauseated all the time, or like just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
eat and was. And then but she had refused, she had given up on treatment for her cancer. She was kind of coming down to the palliative care end of life, and she fell and broke her hip in the bathroom one day. And so, she went to the hospital. Uh, she went through the process of recovering from her hip fracture. Uh, she was on a lot of strong pain management
Mm.
for that. And she felt great.
Oh,
She felt great because
she
her
was out of her
pain was
mind.
managed,
Yeah.
right? Her pain was managed,
Oh,
right? And
okay.
so
Yep.
then, as her pain management was weaned off because she no longer needed it for the hip, she was really outraged. She's like, I feel terrible. I need the pain management. But the staff at the hospital were only treating the hip. They had no regard whatsoever for the fact that she was an end of life cancer patient. The two never spoke to each other.
Oh my
They
gosh.
never correlated whatsoever. So that's why I say you could go to the hospital for one very specific thing and not have any relationship to what your treatment is to what's actually happening. They were ships passing in the night or sailing along in parallel.
So,
She finished, once she finished the pain management for her hip, she declined very rapidly because the pain was so dramatic from
oh,
the liver cancer, right?
all of
And
it.
then
Yeah.
she basically, I think it was like 2 weeks basically after she stopped the pain management for the hip, she went into hospice and passed away because it was just so dramatic, right? So those
Yeah.
are the things that you just can't even, you can't plan for necessarily, but you could have some at least plan and effect for how you wanted things to go.
Yeah. And well, it's just infuriating that we put up with so much like pain or discomfort or all these other symptoms because, well, it's just part of the thing that I'm going through. Well, if you could have some kind of palliative care to make your quality of life better, wouldn't you want your last 2 weeks to be pain free? I
Yeah,
mean,
and
it,
that's what happened. She went into hospice
uh-huh.
and all of her pain was managed. And well, I think she probably had like 1 day of relief, or maybe a couple
Gosh.
days of relief, and then that was it. Then
Yeah.
she was unconscious and gone after that. But
Mm.
you're right. People just don't uh people don't associate nausea and pain. Right. And
Yeah.
that's the case with a lot of our clients is that they are in pain. They just cannot articulate or
Mm.
communicate that it's pain. They see it
Mm-hmm.
as nausea or discomfort or something hurts, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that all of that can be managed with pain
Yeah.
management, and neither do families because families are just doing the best they can. They're not medical
Mm-hmm.
people or healthcare professionals, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think you're right. There's a lot of suffering and needlessly.
Yeah.
And
Gosh.
that's why
And
having somebody in there to help you is to your
exactly.
advantage, right?
Yes.
They are advocating for our clients, making sure that the
Yes.
family understands what they need, that that there are things that can be done to help that client in different ways, and the family wouldn't have any understanding of that.
Yeah. You're helping translate too from what this person is experiencing and not able to
Yeah,
articulate, then
right.
verbalizing that in a medical way that makes sense
Yeah.
to the doctors and to the care
Pain.
people.
It's pain. It's pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't we try this? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's so cool that you are able to provide that level of awareness and service for people.
Yeah, it is. It's very rewarding. It's very rewarding to be, to be able to do something that meaningful for people
Uh-huh.
in their lives, right?
Yeah.
And help as many as we have. I mean, we have had so many clients, and as I always say, we get so many unsolicited thank yous and what a blessing, or you were just lifesavers, or or referrals to other people, totally unsolicited, because and we help one client and then they leave the system, as I call it, and then we help their partner or their spouse because we
Oh.
did a great job with the first client. Like
Mm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
as long as you are passionate and you love what you're doing, then everybody notices, right? Everybody knows
Mm.
that
Yeah.
you're doing it because you want to be helping people.
Exactly. Exactly. So what are you like your business? Are you looking for more people to join your team? Are you franchising your own business now or what's your next step, I guess?
Yeah, so we're continuing to work in the senior care industry, like offer care to our clients. And I now offer essentially a senior care business in a box, really, for
Mm.
anyone who's interested in starting a senior care business. So I can offer them, every system and process and template and script and everything that they
Okay.
would need And it's all done with you, as I call it, where it's, me holding their hand through. We have a 3 month and a 6 month program, depending on how, I guess, experienced the person is. If they have absolutely no experience, then I always recommend the 6 month program just to give them a little more time. And
Mm-hmm.
for the 3 month program, I say, if you've had some level of experience in the healthcare system, or perhaps you're a healthcare professional who just suddenly realizes that no matter how hard you work, you're never going to make enough money to live the life
Mm,
you want to live. So really, it's essentially like a franchise, but we do not have franchise fees or royalties or long-term
mm,
contracts or any of those things that preclude you from having the unlimited income that you deserve to have when you own your own
okay.
business.
Nice. Okay. So, is your business available around the globe? Is it only Canada? Would someone in the States be able to start their own business in this way using your system?
Yes, absolutely. So wherever senior care is currently available, you could start your business using my model because it's the same model. And there are, lots of senior care businesses in all across North America, in the UK, and in Australia. So those are
Okay.
the markets that I'm currently supporting. And I would
Okay.
say that there are some differences, and that's up to the client to determine what the differences are. For example, in Ontario, we're an unregulated
Mm,
industry, which means
okay.
that it's up to the business to provide the appropriate levels of staff or healthcare professionals, but we are not licensed as a business. We can be just me, Joe Blow, and
Hmm.
and employ the staff. Whereas in the United States, you actually, if you want to provide nursing level, then you need to be licensed yourself. And so there's a
Okay.
process that you need to do. And similarly in the UK and Australia, there's just different compliance and regulatory frameworks in those places. But my business model can be used in all of them.
Okay. Very good. So if someone wanted to check it out or learn more about the business or how or any of it, where would they find you?
They could go to my website, which is www.seniorcarebusinesscampus.com, and they could take a look through. And I also have a YouTube channel, which probably talks a little
Nice.
bit about all of this as well. It's also Senior Care Business Campus. I have a few videos. I'm trying to add more on there every week. And if anybody's interested, they can contact me through the website and submit an application form. We always have a very small intake because we are so hands-on with everybody. But, if there isn't room in the intake that they're interested in, then there certainly will be one in a very short order. So I would encourage anyone who would be interested in learning more to just apply.
Sounds great because it definitely is a need out there.
It is a
I'll put
need.
those links in my show notes too, so people can
Perfect.
find you
Thank
really
you.
quickly. Yeah. Okay. Can I switch gears on you a little bit here?
Sure.
Awesome. At the end of my conversations, I always like to bring it around to something fun, and I mean, this has been a great
Yes.
conversation. But what is your favorite cocktail or glass of wine?
So I actually don't drink wine at all, but I drink champagne. So
I love
my
that.
favorite, my favorite is actual champagne from France.
Yes.
And
Nice.
my daily go-to is a Prosecco. So that's
Oh, I love Prosecco.
I'll go
Yes.
Prosecco all day long, and then when it's a special occasion, then I go Moet. So
Nice. Oh, hey, love that.
yes, I'm still have Paris or France rather on my uh, list for specifically the Champagne district, to tour around and do all the
Mm-hmm.
champagne tastings. And I've learned all about the terroir and all of the fancy stuff about
Yes.
champagne. Now I just have to go and taste it all.
In person.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
I love that. That's on my list too. There and Rance and also the Loire Valley. I love the wines there too.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I love bubbles too. It's hard to beat a good
it really
champagne.
is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, speaking my language. Okay, so what's a fun memory you shared with girlfriends? Over a glass or not?
Oh,
What's been a fun time?
I have had lots of fun in my life. I've been very, very lucky, and I guess probably I would probably just talk about the fun of travel, really, because that would be
Mm.
like my second favorite thing to do, would
Mm-hmm.
be to travel. And we had great friends to travel with while my daughter was growing up, and we loved to go to the same kind of places. And so I would say
Uh-huh.
probably travel would be the next most fun thing. I got married in Hawaii and Maui, and
Oh.
got to bring our friends to see that, and then
Uh-huh.
we went to lots of fun places, Turks and Caicos and
Mm.
Bahamas and Cayman Islands. All the
Oh yeah.
fun places to go with little kids, where it's nice, beach and ocean and pools. Yeah, all the fun
Yes.
stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so that was your second favorite thing to do is travel. What was your first favorite thing?
Champagne.
Oh, champagnes are okay, okay. So, of course.
That was the first question, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I was thinking activity for some reason, but drinking champagne is an activity.
Well,
That works.
oh
And you like to
God.
golf too, right?
And I like to golf too. That is true. I do like to golf. And I am so excited to have joined Legs because honestly, like you just don't find women doing business on the golf
Hmm.
course the same way men do, right? And so
Right.
that's what I love about Legs is like let's just go out and do business and connect and support each other and
Yep.
promote each other and collaborate and all of the things that we get to do, and we'll play some golf and have a little drink and an appy afterwards, right? And
Have a
have
little
some fun.
Prosecco after. Yes, for
Yes, that
sure.
would be good if there was Prosecco.
Oh, our course has some. So
I have to check that
I
one.
think that's
Actually,
because of
that's a good
me.
point. Yeah, I should definitely check that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so for my listeners who maybe don't know, Legs is how we met, and that's Ladies Executive Golf Society, correct? I think I have that
That's
right.
correct. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that we're the new official international branch up here in Toronto. So
love
anybody
it.
in the Toronto area would love to meet you out on the course. Look us up. Come and join us.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put those links in the show notes too, because
Great.
it's a
Yeah,
fun
thank you.
group. We're around the country here in the U.S. too, but not in Iowa yet. So maybe that'll be
Oh,
coming. I don't know. I joined the Sarasota group down
yes.
this
Well, that
winter.
sounds probably like it's a better option for you to be
Probably
more.
more ladies. It
Oh,
would be,
yeah. Yeah, I think
yeah.
so too. Like I think, the colder climates like we are up here, we were supposed to have our launch in May, and the weather has just been so cold and rainy. So we've just
Uh-huh.
bumped it to June. I don't know. Is it the same there? And
It
it's
is
just
here in Iowa too. It's
so
weird.
cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, well, next week it's supposed to be back in the 80s again, but this week it's highs in the 60s.
Yeah. I don't think we get to the 80s until probably July here. So,
Sounds
we had
delightful.
now you know why my the gap needs to narrow between where
Yeah.
I am and the beach.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're at some point hoping to sun chase as well. So have you
Yes,
started
definitely.
looking around like to regions or where you want to be?
Well, I think probably it would be, sort of the Turks and Caicos, BVI's
Mm,
kind of vibe, I think is probably
yeah.
right. That definitely I like the crystal clear aqua water look.
Gosh. So exciting. Oh, is there anything I haven't asked you that you would love to share?
I don't think so. I would just like to invite anyone who's interested in starting a senior care business, or anyone who's interested in learning more about senior care business to get in touch with me, and I would be, glad to talk about how, I have the brand and experience or the skills, or whatever I can to support them so that they would feel confident, even with no experience, that it would be a good thing for them to do
Mm,
if they're interested.
Fantastic. Love it. I think that's going to help a lot of people because it's definitely a need to help people as we age to be more independent and to stay home if that's what we
Yes,
want to do.
agreed.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Vicki. This has been wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me, Penny. It really has been so much fun, and I hope that it's been valuable for your listeners as well.
Yeah, thanks. All right. I'll see you at Legs.
Yes, see you there. Bye.
Okay, bye. That's a wrap on this episode of Penny for Your Shots. If you loved today's conversation, don't let the inspiration stop here. Get my weekly insider updates straight to your inbox. It's where I spill behind the scenes goodies, exclusive tips, and all the fun stuff I don't always share on the podcast. Sign up now at pennyforyourshots.com/insider. I'll see you in your inbox next Thirsty Thursday. Cheers!